Now, President Trump wrote earlier on Twitter today, despite what you hear in the press, healthcare is coming along great. We're talking to many groups, and it will end in a beautiful picture. Joining us now with reaction, the House Majority Leader, Congressman Kevin McCarthy. Sir, how are you?
I'm doing well, and you?
I'm good. Let me get to the first question. It's
Sure.
a process question. Because even before the bill actually came out, you had members of the Freedom Caucus, a lot of them, the study group, Senators Paul, Cruz, Lee, and Marco Rubio. And then afterwards, you had the Club for Growth, Americans for Prosperity, Freedom Works, Heritage Action, all against it. And I guess what surprised me about it is, why didn't you get this consensus bill or work on the bill that everyone agreed on before you released it? And now you're doing it all in the public eye, and it seems confusing, and people are asking, well, why didn't you guys work this out before?
Well, we did work it out before. If you were and you listened to the Freedom Caucus at the very beginning in January, they asked us to make sure that we would not repeal without replacing at the same time. If you look at the conservative bill that we have before you, much of that element was Tom Price's bill when it was inside the House. And you had numbers of Freedom Caucus co-sponsor that. The challenge is the process of how we have to do this. Because we don't have 60 votes, and that's what puts the fear in me. It's kind of the challenge of the structure which we go about doing. We have to do 3 different phases. 1, in reconciliation, repeal and replace, but because of the Senate rules, we can't do everything we want. Those things administratively that the power gives to Tom Price. And then those bills that take 60 votes, we'll move those along at the same time and right afterwards. At the end, we end up at the exact same place. This is the most conservative bill. Repeals all the taxes.
So there's 3 phases to this. All right. So
yes.
But the critics, and my tie's crooked, and the critics, you know, they're all saying the same thing. This doesn't fully repeal it. In other words, what they're asking and have been asking to do is go back to the 2015 bill, which was a full repeal. At the same time, you follow up immediately with the replacement bill. Why can't that be done?
Well, this is the same bill that we put on the President Obama's desk when we repealed it. But take, for instance, that process. If we repealed everything, we would still need 60 votes to pass something new. Well, then you're going to have to negotiate with all those Democrats. It would not be as conservative as this current bill to get 60 votes. Secondly, if you repealed it without replacing it, your premiums would double, the market would collapse, you wouldn't have a market built on the outside to take people up. And who would own that problem? Sean, it would be Donald Trump and all the Republicans currently in office.
Listen, this has to work. There's no option here. This
there
has
is
to
no
work.
option.
This is the first legislative agenda item that the president is now passing here. So at some point, the Freedom Caucus, those senators I mentioned, those groups, you're going to need them. Is
Yes.
it a communication problem that they don't understand the 3-step process? Or are their criticisms valid that it's not a complete repeal, that there are still some taxes in there from Obamacare that exist, and not everything is free market, that there is even a new entitlement, which is the main arguments I hear them making every hour of every day now on television?
Sean, we repeal every single tax in Obamacare that was put in during Obamacare.
And it's not under another name?
No. This is the exact
then why are the
same
Freedom
repeal.
Caucus guys saying that? Why is Senator Rand Paul saying that?
Well, we are sitting. What Rand Paul would like to do is repeal it and then go into and try to find 60 votes for it. You and I both know how difficult it is to find 60 votes.
You're right on reconciliation. I totally understand. There's a legislative complication. Good point. Better to have 51 votes only needed than 60. So explain the 3-step process. And without the Freedom Caucus and those senators, this bill doesn't get passed. What are you going to do in terms of getting everybody together and making this work? And I'd be open to coming down and doing a full-on town hall with all sides. Would you participate?
Look, I'll participate anyway because this is the most conservative bill you're going to find. This is Obamacare gone. It repeals all the taxes. That's what we just did last night in Ways and Means Committee.
All right,
we
here's
just
my
went
question
through energy and commerce. Yes.
If you'll come, I'll come down next week, and we can tape an hour for TV, and I'll bring you. I'll invite the senators I mentioned, and I'll invite a couple of Freedom Caucus guys, and maybe we could just hash it out there. And maybe we'll bring in Reince Priebus and see if whatever differences exist, if it can't get worked out, would you be willing to do that?
I'll be glad to. We're talking every day in the process. Because, listen, Obamacare did 3 essential items. They put the control of health care into government, federal government. They were the exchanges, and then there were expansion of Medicaid. What does this bill do? It frees up and gives all those rights to the states, which we believe is very conservative. Secondly, we repealed all the taxes, very conservative. Thirdly, what we did, too, the exchanges have now collapsed, so we have to take, one, a tax credit. Sean, when you let people keep more of their own money and make their own decisions in health care, that is the most conservative approach. No. How is letting people keep more of their own money and making their own decisions an entitlement? That's a conservative view. In 2007, that's what Heritage said. It is the best form of going forward in a tax credit.
All right, we're going to, I promise, you know, because listen,
yes.
I'm taking a lot of incoming from people. A lot of people right now are angry and frustrated, and the votes aren't there, and this has to succeed. But more importantly than succeed, it has to be done right, because as soon as it's replaced, you own it. And it's got to be something that lowers costs, offers more care, more free market competition, healthcare savings, cooperatives, which all need to be a part of it. I think those are the points we all agree on. So, all right.
Well, Sean, that's exactly what you're talking about in this bill. And if all you did was repeal, everything else would collapse, and then we would own that.
All right. Congressman, I'll look forward to seeing you next week. We'll work it out.